So last time, I think, I pretty much stopped here, define and segment your target population. Okay, who you would like to help. Okay, who are the potential beneficiaries? So ask yourself these questions. Who of the proposed beneficiaries are most likely to adopt my offering? Okay, so you want to start somewhere. You want to work on the group who want your product or services the most. Okay, so you want to find out where they're located, whether there are enough of them willing to adopt your offering. Okay, and to test your ideas. Okay, and also whether reaching them is possible at an acceptable cost. Okay, so in other words, you're not going to spend millions just to market your product. Okay. And here's a practical guide. Basically, the 10 attractive features which will increase the willingness for the beneficiaries to adopt your product or service. Okay. So, for example, their perception of the need to benefit. Okay, if that is high, right? Okay, are they aware of their need for your proposed benefit? Okay, so this is, so basically, in the textbook that I assigned you, ask you to compare several groups of beneficiaries and to see which one is more aware of the need for the proposed benefit. Okay, and connectedness of actions to positive outcome. Okay, do they clearly recognize the link between the actions you propose and the expected positive outcomes? Okay, so these are the type of questions that you should ask yourself, and then maybe compile a table according to these. Okay, for example, how much does the need matter to them? If they don't think it matters to them a lot, then you are wasting your time. Okay. You may think this is a great product. You may think that they need it a lot. But if they tell you that, that's not the case, okay, they don't want it. For example, I'm thinking about, say, provide the investor education to Chinese, retail investors. Okay, so because we always say these retail investors are just cheated out of their money in the stock market, right? Okay, so if I say I want to provide this service to them, okay, free of charge, give them investment education. Do you think they would take it? Okay. Do they see the need? Okay, maybe not. Maybe they think they're so smart. Okay, so if you say, well, here's an education videos for you to watch, well, maybe they don't care. Okay, so you have to really investigate, whether they need such kind of product. Okay, so if it turns out that this is a great service, that they think that they were cheated out of their money, and they think that by listening to these education videos, they may have a chance to get it back, okay, their money. So then that would be good. okay, then you can think about, okay, so how do I provide this kind of service, right? Well, I need to hire people to, to give the lectures, right? Okay, so even though, if it's just a video, probably it's not going to cost that much. Okay, but still I need to hire some people to do it. Maybe a series of investment lectures for them. Okay, so for the investors, it's free. For the retail investors, it's free. So for me as a social entrepreneur, it's going to cost me because I need to hire some teachers to do that. Or if there are enough volunteers, then of course, I can provide this kind of service. Or alternatively, I can combine that kind of the free investment education service with another piece, which is money making. For example, provide robo-advisor service. Okay, so combine a robo-advisor service with a free, investor education service. Okay, but in any case, I need to go in and do the market investigation and to see whether, those mama and the papas, when they have their retirement money, do they really need my advice? Okay, or maybe they're enjoying doing it their own way, right? So, that's something we need to investigate. Okay, and urgency to customer. How long might they postpone having the need satisfied? Okay, and how easy it is for them to see the benefits, etc. So I'm not gonna go through all the list. Okay. Okay, so previously I discussed some important parts like what are the customers, what whether they need those services, etc. So now I'm going to use some examples to carry on the discussion. Okay. So let's look at this Graham Vickers example. Okay, Graham Vickers is a rural development organization in India whose mission is to deploy running water and sanitation systems in rural villages, okay, with a mandate of covering 100% of the households in the villages it works with. Okay, so here, what was the problem? Well, the problem was that these villages, these farmers in the villages, they don't have running water. Okay, they don't have running water. So they may need to go to the river, or they may need to go to the well, okay, to fetch the water, right? So why was this problem neglected? Anyone?
Well, perhaps they don't need it. Because in rural villages, it is possible for the people living there just go to the river in the daytime and fetch water by themselves. They don't need running water services.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That is one possibility.
Okay. Okay, first, they don't need it, right? Okay, but do you think they need it?
Well, I think that depends on the form of the village, like the environment of the village and how this village is constructed. Like if it's near a river or near a lake, then I think the chances are higher that they don't need the running water. Right. But if it's mountainous area, I think these possibilities is small.
Okay. Okay. So maybe they don't need it. Okay.
I think it depends on the kind of irrigation is done in those villages. Like if they grow rice, then they need running water for the growing the rice, I think.
Okay, so
kind of the irrigation is. Yeah.
right. So you are thinking about irrigation system.
Yeah.
Okay. So here, I think this running water may be referred to household usage. Inside house.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Okay. But what you say is also very important, which actually relates to some of the things that I'm going to discuss, about the irrigation. Okay. Any other comments?
I think maybe the government doesn't have the ability to build the infrastructure. Yeah, so the capacity building.
Right. Okay, so maybe, first of all, if you say they should need it, meaning that there might be something wrong with the river. Okay, so the water quality may not be as good. Okay, there may be the river might be contaminated. The water sources might not be safe enough for drinking. Okay. So in that case, you need to have the running water, and if the government has no way to provide it, there's not enough resources for the government to provide it directly, and also maybe because the villagers, the villagers, they live kind of separately. It's far away for any private company to actually have an interest to develop the system for them, to build, to connect everything for them. Okay. Yeah.
There's a point that I want to add as well. I think maybe it neglects the cost as well, because it's not just the cost of just building it. Like the cost is building it, maybe like they can sponsor by NGO, but then there's also maintenance cost. There's the cost of the water and the maintenance of the whole system. And then like if they want to cover 100%, then the difficulty of the project, like it rise so much. Right. But if they can like maybe cover like half of the household, and then like half of the household can come over to that place to kind of take water, maybe that will makes the project much easier. And like it's better to get like project step by step instead of just 100%.
Well, that's actually what they succeeded in doing. Okay, so they wanted to. Now, of course, I think you are right that those people, those families who live near the river, they have less incentive to join it. Okay, but then I think the company, Graham Vickers, basically told the villagers either all of them, all of you, or nothing. Okay, so this is the all or nothing deal. And then, so the villagers would really need to come together and say, well, talking about all the benefits, for example, reduce the, cases of disease, and the convenience, in terms of not wasting time in fetching the water, that frequently. Okay, so eventually they come to agreement. That the Graham Vickers would provide the necessary machinery, okay, equipment, material, and then the villagers would provide labor. Okay, would provide labor, digging the ditches and connect all the pipes, etc., to make everything work. Okay, and also. I think Amanda is right that you need to maintain it. Okay, so each family would contribute some money to a public fund, and that public fund will be used for the maintenance of the entire system. Okay, so that's the solution. Okay, that's the innovative solution, in the sense that all the villagers need to chip in and need to change their behavior. Okay, need to protect the system help maintain the system, and also provide labor in building it. Okay. So those are the behavior changes expected of the villagers. Okay. So then we need to specify performance criteria. Okay, so what will be the performance criteria in this case? So you connected, all the households, and provided running water. Okay. So what is the performance criteria for this company, for Graham Vickers?
Sorry, the criteria for what?
No, I mean the performance criteria for this company. How to measure whether they succeed. Okay. So suppose they're going to go to the NGOs and say, well, we need more money to fund this project. So how do you claim this is a success?
Share of household who have access to clean water after the program.
Well, this is 100%.
But that may not be. I mean, the clean water, not all kinds of water, because I think it's possible that the construction may face some flaws. So some households may they have access to water, but they may not have access to clean water.
Okay.
That is above the international standard.
I agree. Okay, but supposedly the water comes from the same source. Okay, so from all the pipe, they should come, the same quality of water. But what you say could happen. Okay, so for example, if one section of the pipe is not clean. Okay. So in this case, they can say, okay, how many villages have signed up for this program? Okay, so how many households the company eventually served? Okay, connected, and then if you want to do more, then you can say, okay, how much time the villagers have saved in terms of not having the need to fetch water. Okay, and also you can say, well, what about the number of cases of bacteria infections? Okay, do we see a reduction in that number? Okay, how many? Right now, of course, if you say that's all because of your running water, maybe that's an exaggeration, but you can provide some kind of measure. Okay, and people might challenge you, but then you can provide some statistics first. Okay. And again, in terms of defining the segment, the target population. Okay, if we are talking about which village to work with first, maybe you should go talk to those villages where they have, it's very inconvenient for them to fetch water. Then they may have more incentive to sign up this program with you. Okay. Right. Okay. Any questions?
I have one question. I still don't understand why the villagers will do not want to sign, because it seems that the funds are from NGOs, so maybe the villagers don't have to pay anything. So why would they turn down the offer?
Well, I don't know whether the funds are 100% coming from the NGOs. Okay, I think they may have different sources of this, and in any case, they need to chip in to the maintenance fund. Okay, every year. They need to chip into the maintenance fund, and then they also need to provide labor, to to build it and also to maintain it. Okay.
And
Yeah.
I think
Yes.
if I might add to that, I think in those kind of projects, it can, if it's very rural villages, it can also often be seen as kind of intrusion in changing the way of life. And some people even, it might be, how to say, bettering their lifestyle, but if they don't see right away what the benefit is, they don't want any of those kind of changes. Sometimes
right.
that can happen.
That's
Yeah.
right. There may be some even NGOs who would, protest on this kind of modernization, right?
Yeah.
They want to keep, some traditional way of life, and they value that kind of thing. Yes, there was some other comment.
Yeah, I have a comment, and
Yes.
also they will have the usage fee, the running water. They need to pay for that. If they just go to river to fetch the water, they don't pay anything.
Okay,
But if
then,
they
right. So that depends on how much they charge, right? Okay, like what we do. I mean, we always pay for running water here in the city, right?
Yeah, Professor, if I could also add to that, Sebastian is totally right. And then from my experience with rural communities in Nigeria, because I think India shares a lot of similarities with Nigeria. One of the things you'll find in the rural communities is they dig wells already, and they get clean waters from these wells. So even when you come to do a modern system, you have to convince them why they should go and switch from the wells, which already provides clean drinking water for them at affordable rates, to something that is more advanced than what they currently have. So most times they already have an alternative, which is digging wells, and they don't usually want to change what they currently have.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. If the running water is not actually going to reduce the cases of disease, they already have clean deep well water, which is healthy and clean, then why bother, right? So it must be in the case where you actually observe a lot of bacteria infections. Some places where the environment was not very well kept. So then you say, well, we need to have this running water program. Okay, I think in India, the running water and sanitation is extremely important. I mean, if even the Mahatma Gandhi once said, sanitation is more important than independence, okay, than national independence. Because sanitation really, if you don't have access to sanitary water, drinking water, then the population can die in big number, right? Okay. Okay, here's something related to a previous comment about irrigation. Okay, let's just watch this very short, maybe 2-minute video on the story of Tetsu Nakamura. Okay.
Flourishing fields. That's the legacy left behind by Dr. Tetsu Nakamura, who was attacked and fatally wounded on his way to work in Jalalabad, Afghanistan.
Nakamura was an icon of humanity. He was here for decades and for many years to serve the Afghan people, to give them and provide them a sustainable livelihood.
Tetsu Nakamura left his home in the 1980s to treat patients on the Afghanistan-Pakistan border. In 1991, he opened a clinic in Afghanistan's Nangarhar province and realized that poverty from a lack of clean water was the main problem in the region.
As a doctor, nothing is better than healing patients and sending them home. A hospital treats patients one by one, but this helps an entire village. I love seeing a village that's been brought back to life.
Despite all odds, he empowered locals to turn 160 million square meters of the desert into arable land with the technology at hand. He built 11 canals, 1,500 wells, and secured a stable food supply for 600,000 people.
Starvation drought. Medicine can't solve these problems, and water creates food. So people weren't malnourished anymore. It certainly took time, but these local communities did come back to life.
Nakamura was renowned in the region for his work.
Nakamura was not only the champion of our eastern provinces. Nakamura was the champion of all Afghanistan. That's why today we are gathered here and we all Afghan very sad. We are very sad.
In October, Afghan President Ashraf Ghani awarded him an honorary citizenship.
Don't aim so big. Do what you can, one thing at a time.
Okay, so this is the case of Tetsuo Nakamura. You see, he made tremendous changes, just by himself, right? He was a doctor, came to Afghanistan, Pakistan border. Initially, just practiced medicine, right? But then realized he can help more people by rechanneling some water for irrigation. And he actually, if you are interested, you can watch this long video there, which I watched maybe 2 years ago. So basically, he himself designed all of that, all the engineering part. He designed it himself. Okay, so it's amazing, and of course, he uses local labor. Okay, so all these people, villages, helped to make it happen. So it was a really touching documentary. So I strongly recommend that you watch it. So Tetsuo Nakamura is indeed a change maker. Okay, and I wish all of you can be a change maker. Okay, and discussion using eco toilet as another example. Okay, so eco toilet is a freestanding pay-per-use sanitation center that has since been installed in many towns in East Africa. Okay, started in Kenya. Actually, quite a number of examples that I read started in Kenya. So, so in some sense, I think there's a big changes in Kenya in terms of the desire to solve social problems. Okay, so what's the problem here? Why was it neglected? So if you look at the towns, if you look at actually the big city, okay, only the center of the city have some restrooms, okay, toilets, but not enough actually. Even in the center of the town, there was not enough, restrooms. In other places, like near a bus station, okay, or near a vegetable stand, those vegetable markets, there was just not any good, toilet around. Okay, so apparently there was not enough. I mean, the government has not enough resources to solve that problem. Okay, and private sector did not really try it. Okay, maybe first of all, when you think you start a private toilet and start to charge, so what if people don't use it, right? So I think that's the first thing you need to worry, right? If you start a private toilet and charging people, and people just don't use it. So you must be taking some risk then. So what do you do in this case? If you are contemplating starting a private toilet? You do the market survey, investigation. I think you talk to people and see whether there's enough people who are willing to pay for this kind of, you know, places to go to. Okay. Right. Right. So, yeah.
So I mean, you probably can just set up the charged toilet in those public places where people have to use it, such as the airport and the train station. So people just have no other option anymore, so they have to use it and pay for it.
Well, no, I mean, before your toilet, people always have some options, right? So even though they just do it, you know, at street side, okay? I mean, in fact, they describe that people kind of just use it in the, I don't know, in the plastic bag and then just throw it on the street, you know. That can happen, okay, that can happen. So you have to kind of investigate and see whether there are enough people who say, yeah, they would be willing to pay a small amount, of course, right? Small amount, and then use the service, okay? So then you would have to do some exercise and see whether that small amount will allow you to break even at some point in the future, right? Okay, so that's all kind of things you need to do. And you also ask yourself, you know, what are the behavior changes you expect of the users? Okay, so they really have to, you know, change their behavior and be willing to use it. Now, of course, you can try to convince the NGOs and say, well, you should support this, okay, because having better sanitation would reduce number of cases of diarrhea, okay? And in fact, you know, diarrhea kill a lot of people in the world, okay, especially in low-income countries, okay? So you need to convince the NGOs and say, well, if you guys chip in somewhat, then I don't have to charge that much, okay? So again, you will see a table where they need to work on which population segment are the easiest ones who accept the idea, okay? So this is the, so this first picture here above, this is the, I think that's the, like the design, okay? So that's the picture you use to convince the NGOs and say, look, you know, this will be you know, nice toilet and it will be sanitary and it will help reduce diseases, okay? Infectious diseases, okay? And the bottom, you see the actual ones in place, okay? So you see they try to make use of the space as much as possible, okay? And turn all possible spaces into sources of income. For example, for advertisement, for show shine booth, okay? So here, the bottom one, you see the show shine booth here, okay? Telephone stand and newspaper stands, okay? So they try to make, you know, all the spaces in this toilet nearby, okay, everything works, okay, can be turned into sources of income. And also the human waste is collected and turned into biogas that is pumped back to provide light and hot water. And urine is harvested and processed using new waterless technology and donated to communities to use as fertilizer for composting. So in any case, it's like everything inside this toilet or around this toilet is turned into sources of income. Okay, so made it possible. So in fact, later, I think the government tried to confiscate, these toilets. So there was a big fight about the toilets, whether they had already secured all the rights to build, to build the toilet. Okay, so this is the table which you need to kind of figure out, right? So here they look at the three options. This is a segmentation of population, okay? The local markets, the central business districts, and the estate townships, okay? So for different categories, the scores may be different, okay? So then they tally all the scores, okay? For example, the visibility of benefits. Of course, visibility of benefits is the highest for central business district, right? So everything looks much cleaner now, given the availability of these toilets, okay? But in other criteria, maybe the central business district fares the least, okay? So timeliness of effects, can the need be quickly satisfied by your offering, or will it be delayed? Okay, because in central district, there are already quite a number of toilets, public restrooms around, okay? At least in business buildings, and they all have that, okay? So maybe in that sense, it's not that urgent, not that timely. But in any case, you tally them, you find that this is the highest, and this is the second highest. So then you decide where to start, okay? Sorry. Okay, the bottom of pyramid, I think last time Marie already covered it, so I'm not going to repeat. And also the United Nations SDG, okay, sorry. Already covered last time. And also the turn this bottom of pyramid or base of pyramid, think about it as a market, okay? Because they still need to consume. Okay, they also need to consume, right? So, what is the composition of this market? Food looks like the biggest. And then you have energy, housing, transportation, health, etc. Okay, so that's the market. Okay, now later on, since the paper was published, there was some debate about whether this market really exists or not. Okay, so there was some debate about that, and you can read that. And basically, they say some people may argue that this market really is very small, even though when you aggregate them, it looks like 5 trillion, 6 trillion. But most of it already been satisfied, maybe by the informal sector already. So it's not going to be a big market for multinational companies to tap into. Okay, energy. Okay, so I'm going to highlight a few important needs for innovative solutions. So this delight D-light design. Okay, so in a world in which 2 billion people lack access to electricity, so D-light design is trying to market low-cost solar electric lamps to villages and slum dwellers. Okay, so you see, this low-cost solar electricity lamps, electric lamps, and there are also solar electric, lantern. Okay, so that you can hang it outside the door, to light the street, etc. So this is for the people, so that they can switch away from kerosene light. Okay, because kerosene is unhealthy and dangerous substance. That also contributes to global warming, right? So when I was a teenager, I actually used the kerosene light when the electricity was cut off. Okay, so during my time, when I was in high school, sometimes, like 1 day a week, the electricity may be cut. Okay, so in those nights, we would use the kerosene light to study. Okay. And water, this is another important area that has social problems. Okay, an estimated 748 million people in the world lack access to an improved drinking water source. Okay, so that's the problem that Graham Vickers was trying to solve. Okay, 73 million of them rely on untreated surface water, and the WHO estimates that inadequate drinking water, sanitation, and hygiene caused 842,000 diarrheal disease deaths, okay, per year, right? So this is a very substantial problem waiting to be solved. Okay, so here there are some possible solutions provided by some social enterprise. Okay, for example, the mini water treatment plant by Savaya Water ATM. Okay, so this is what they provide, and then these plants typically treat 500 to 1,000 liters per hour for sale at a price of $0.2 to $0.6 per liter. Okay, so by providing this kind of sanitary water, then the poor families, even for the poorest of families, for the one-day use, this only represents then this 4% of their income. Okay, so so that seems like pretty good solution for the poor families. Okay, this is another solution by Nandy, right? This is started operation in 2005. The full installation represents a cost between $10,000 and $20,000. Okay, so of course, for this kind of construction or facility, you need to have some finance. Okay, you cannot expect the villages to be able to pay for it on their own. Okay, so it will be a mix of grants, village contributions, and state authorities' investments. Okay, so eventually it will be the village or the government who is going to own the plant. Okay, right. So there are possible solutions, and there are different kinds of arrangements. For example, this is different from what Graham Vickers was doing. Okay. Finally, just want to mention that you should be ready for challenges, because this is a challenging task. Okay, solving social problems. Now imagine if this is an easy problem to solve, it must have already been solved. Okay, so for those problems that you imagine exist, that they must be the tough ones to be resolved. Okay, well, sometimes it may take just, you know, take a very nice idea that come to your mind. Okay, so I read some of your kind of individual introspection. Okay, so to some problem you provide some kind of solutions, right? So then you need to ask yourself whether that is doable. Okay, what kind of difficulties you may encounter. Okay. For example, you may need to overcome apathy and opposition. So what is apathy? Well, apathy is, you know, people just don't care. Okay, you think there's a problem there, say, oh, that's okay. So they can get by, right? But for you, there may be safety problems, you know, all kinds of issues. But then you need to overcome this apathy and overcome the opposition. Okay. And you also need to attract funding, you know, attract support from all kinds of stakeholders. Okay. And you also need to educate people and ask them to change their behavior. Okay. You need to mobilize political support, political will. Okay. And also you need to continually improve your idea and take care of the details. Okay, so in summary, social entrepreneurship is a long-term commitment. Okay, with many setbacks and disappointments. So this is just the general challenges. And financial challenges, most importantly, okay, is that you need to raise enough funds. Okay, you need to raise enough funds. You are different from business entrepreneurs. Okay, the business entrepreneurs, when they have this idea, you know, they can show you the plan and raise money from the capital markets. Okay, you know, they may get you know, the private equity people or venture capitalists to invest in them. Okay, but for you as a social entrepreneur, your ability to make profits quickly would be very minimal. Okay, because you're not going to charge obscene amount. Okay, that's not your objective. Your objective is to reach as many people as possible, and so that they can afford your products and service. Okay. So you you typically would look for finance, you know, by governments, okay, by philanthropists, right? You know, by different foundations. But these, unless your project is viewed as, you know, extremely important and ingenious project, otherwise you know, the kind of investment you get from them would be modest in size, okay, and relatively for short term. Okay. Now in this course, we ask you to hypothetically think that you're you know, you're trying to pitch for this grant. Okay. So then you need to, you know, provide enough documentation, enough description of your ideas, so make it worthy of this kind of support. Okay. Some revenue generating social enterprises have accessed capital from impact investors. Okay, so who are the impact investors? Well, these are the investors who care not just the returns on their investment, but also social impact. Okay, so you can talk to them and you can try to convince them. But markets for this kind of financing is still small. Okay. Only a handful of foundations provide large pool of growth capital for social organizations. Okay. And governments, they kind of prefer to pay for services as they are delivered rather than invest in building institutions. Okay. So they may procure for your service. But if you want to ask them to come up with a sufficient amount of funding upfront, it's kind of difficult. Okay. So we're gonna talk about, you know, some financial issues in lecture 4 and maybe also in lecture 6. Okay. So the advice for you would be one step at a time. Okay, really think small. Okay, and probing all kinds of possibilities. Okay, you don't want to jump in right away and then found that you made a mistake. Okay, but they do need to have some perseverance. Okay, so don't just give up easily. Sometimes you need to tweak your thinking or your ideas to make it acceptable to the potential beneficiaries and to be supported by other stakeholders.